Till time changes faces, it softens swagger, deepens silence, and reveals what fame could never hide. Some of the men who once lit up screens with dangerous charm, romantic grace, or raw cool now live very different lives. Some are still creating, some found peace, some left behind stories that feel even larger than legend. Before we go any further, tell us where you are watching from and what time it is there right now. It is always a pleasure to see how far these shared memories have traveled. Johnny Depp became unforgettable through Edward Scissorhands and Pirates of the Caribbean, where dark eyes, eccentric charm, and wounded mystery made him magnetic to audiences everywhere. Now 62, he is easing back into film and directing with more care and selectivity, balancing his rebellious screen mystique with a quieter, more deliberate late chapter shaped by endurance. Tom Cruise became a true action icon through Top Gun and Mission Impossible, where sharp features, explosive drive, and relentless intensity made him one of the last global movie superstars. Now 63, he still builds his life around spectacle, risk, and discipline, proving that uncommon ambition and physical commitment can keep a blockbuster legend racing forward without losing momentum. Brad Pitt became irresistible through Legends of the Fall, Seven, and Fight Club, where golden looks, laid-back cool, and a restless undercurrent made him unforgettable on screen. Now 62, he remains active in major films while guiding projects behind the scenes, balancing modern leading man appeal with producing power, artistic curiosity, and a more refined sense of control. Val Kilmer became unforgettable through Top Gun, The Doors, and Batman Forever, where striking features, a smoky voice, and brooding intensity gave him a wounded kind of glamour. In later years, he faced grave illness with remarkable openness and resilience before his death in 2025, leaving behind a legacy shaped by talent, mystery, and a dignity that deepened public affection. Richard Chamberlain became a television favorite through Dr. Kildare, Shogun, and the Thornbirds, where elegant features, soft-spoken charm, and romantic gravity made him a classic screen heartthrob. In later years, he lived more quietly and reflected with grace on identity, art, and aging before his death in 2025, leaving behind old-school star power softened by honesty and vulnerability. Kevin Bacon became a breakout star through Footloose, where sharp features, restless energy, and effortless cool made him one of the most memorable leading men of the 1980s. Now 67, he continues acting, making music, and supporting charitable work through 6 Degrees, balancing his youthful rebel spark with a grounded creative life built on marriage, rhythm, and generous public purpose. George Clooney became a leading man legend through ER and Ocean's 11, where a suave smile, calm confidence, and silver screen polish made him instantly magnetic. Now 64, he continues moving between acting, producing, and the stage while protecting a more private family life, balancing old Hollywood elegance with mature authority, civic engagement, and the measured assurance of a modern statesman. Swayze became unforgettable through Dirty Dancing and Ghost, where a dancer's grace, soulful eyes, and masculine tenderness made him one of the most adored romantic stars of his era. In later years, he faced pancreatic cancer with extraordinary courage before his death at 57, leaving behind a legacy of movement, bravery, and emotional sincerity that still reaches audiences with unusual force. Al Pacino became unforgettable through The Godfather and Scarface, where burning eyes, coiled intensity, and dangerous charisma made him one of cinema's fiercest legends. Now 85, he still commands attention through selective work and public reflection, including his memoir, balancing a volcanic screen legacy with late fatherhood, creative stamina, and the enduring fascination that follows artists who never lose their edge. Bruce Willis became an action icon through Die Hard and a television favorite through Moonlighting, where a half smile, tough ease, and quick comic spark made him beloved across generations. In later years, illness transformed his public story into one of tenderness and family devotion, surrounding his action hero legacy with deep compassion, shared strength, and a dignity that inspired extraordinary love. Pierce Brosnan became unforgettable through Remington Steele and the James Bond films, where elegant features, smooth confidence, and refined masculinity made him one of the most enduring modern heartthrobs. Now 72, he remains active on screen while also devoting energy to art, environmental causes, and charitable work, balancing Bond-era sophistication with mature creativity, conscience, and a calmer sense of purpose. Christopher Reeve became unforgettable through Superman, where noble looks, a sincere smile, and clean-cut grace made him one of cinema's most beloved heroic leading men. After his devastating riding accident, he transformed private suffering into public courage, spending his later years advocating for disability rights before his death in 2004, leaving behind a legacy of resilience, compassion, and extraordinary moral strength. Richard Gere became irresistible through American Gigolo and Pretty Woman, where gentle eyes, polished sensuality, and quiet confidence made him one of the world's enduring romantic icons. Now 76, he continues acting while dedicating much of his life to humanitarian and Tibetan causes, balancing his elegant screen legacy with spiritual conviction, activism, and a later chapter shaped by purpose more than glamour. John Michael Vincent became unforgettable through The Mechanic and Airwolf, where blonde good looks, dangerous charm, and wounded masculinity gave him the aura of a true screen rebel. His later years were marked by health struggles, addiction, and decline before his death in 2019, leaving behind a legacy suspended between beauty, volatility, and the sadness of talent that never fully found lasting peace. Tom Hanks became a beloved leading man through Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan, where warm features, a steady voice, and deeply human sincerity made him one of Hollywood's most trusted stars. Now 69, he continues acting, writing, and narrating thoughtful projects, balancing his everyman screen image with literary curiosity, documentary work, and a grounded family life that still feels remarkably intact. Rourke became unforgettable through 9.5 Weeks and later The Wrestler, where bruised sensuality, smoky eyes, and raw vulnerability made him unlike anyone else on screen. Now 73, he still works with stubborn intensity, transforming visible scars, hard-lived experience, and old chaos into a late-life persona defined by survival, grit, and defiant refusal to disappear quietly. Clint Eastwood became the ultimate masculine screen icon through the Dollars trilogy and Dirty Harry, where a flinty stare, lean toughness, and quiet authority redefined cinematic cool. Now 95, he remains linked to directing, discipline, and independence, proving that age has only sharpened the legend, balancing a lifetime of screen power with unmatched endurance, restraint, and old-school creative will. Patrick Duffy became a television favorite through Dallas and Step by Step, where a warm smile, dependable charm, and easy masculinity made him feel instantly familiar. Now 77, he has embraced a gentler later chapter shaped by love, companionship, and simple entrepreneurship, balancing his comforting television legacy with a practical second act rooted in steadiness, affection, and renewed personal happiness. Robert De Niro became unforgettable through Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, where intense eyes, coiled force, and fearless depth made him one of cinema's most commanding leading men. Now 82, he still works with consistency while embracing fatherhood again and reflecting more openly on family, balancing a fierce acting legacy with private devotion, maturity, and the drive of an artist who never rests. Eric Estrada became unforgettable through Chips, where a dazzling smile, thick hair, and playful swagger turned him into one of television's most beloved heartthrobs. Now 77, he has given his later life a stronger sense of service through child safety advocacy and reserve police work, redefining his charming TV cop image through real-world commitment, public care, and practical purpose. Mel Gibson became an action icon through Mad Max and Lethal Weapon, where piercing blue eyes, rugged intensity, and reckless charisma made him one of the most magnetic stars of action cinema. Now 70, he remains active as both actor and director, transforming a once volatile rebel image into that of a seasoned filmmaker, driven by faith, scale, and relentless endurance. William Catt became a television favorite through The Greatest American Hero, where blonde curls, an easy smile, and boyish appeal made him one of television's most charming cult heartthrobs. Now 75, he remains warmly tied to fan conventions and lasting nostalgia, balancing his superhero-era innocence with the affectionate afterlife of cult fame, loyal audiences, and a legacy that still feels lighthearted. Sir Dustin Hoffman became unforgettable through The Graduate and Rain Man, where expressive eyes, nervous intelligence, and emotional precision made him one of the defining actors of modern American film. Now 88, he still carries the prestige of a living master, proving that delicacy, craft, and human complexity can age into something even deeper, quieter, and more distinguished with time. Greg Evigan became a television favorite through BJ and the Bear and My Two Dads, where a warm smile, relaxed charm, and approachable masculinity made him instantly likable to viewers. Now 72, he continues exploring music as well as acting, balancing old television familiarity with a gentler creative second act shaped by melody, memory, and the comfort of enduring affection. Jack Nicholson became unforgettable through One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Shining, where a wicked grin, hooded eyes, and dangerous unpredictability made him one of cinema's ultimate legends. Now 88, he remains largely out of public view, allowing retirement itself to deepen the myth, balancing anarchic screen brilliance with silence, mystery, and a larger-than-life aura no one duplicated. Larry Wilcox became a television favorite through Chips, where clean-cut looks, calm confidence, and all-American sincerity made Officer John Baker one of TV's most reassuring heartthrobs. Now 78, he lives a quieter, later chapter removed from constant spotlight, balancing his wholesome television image with the grounded dignity of stepping back, aging naturally, and letting memory do the work. Kurt Russell became unforgettable through Escape from New York and Overboard, where a rugged face, sly grin, and effortless masculinity made him one of Hollywood's most durable leading men. Now 75, he continues working while cherishing a long family-centered life, balancing weathered movie star cool, with loyalty, steadiness, and the relaxed confidence of someone who never needed to chase relevance. Beau Bridges became a familiar American leading man through film and television roles that highlighted easy warmth, handsome maturity, and grounded authority. Now 84, he remains respected as a steady elder presence, proving that decency, craft, and quiet professionalism can create their own lasting form of screen magnetism, even without the louder mythology that surrounds more flamboyant stars. Timothy Dalton became unforgettable through The Living Daylights and License to Kill, where dark eyes, brooding elegance, and controlled danger gave James Bond a sharper, more serious edge. Now 80, he remains admired for selective character work and old-world gravitas, balancing his sleek Bond mystique with Shakespearean depth, restraint, and the calm authority of a man aging with uncommon style. Malcolm McDowell became unforgettable through A Clockwork Orange and Caligula, where piercing eyes, razor-sharp wit, and unsettling charisma made him one of cinema's most magnetic anti-heroes. Now 82, he still works with remarkable consistency, proving that provocation, intelligence, and menace can mature into a durable late-career legend without losing the sly danger that first made him unforgettable. Mark Hamill became unforgettable through Star Wars and later as the voice of the Joker, where bright eyes, youthful intensity, and heartfelt sincerity made him beloved across generations. Now 74, he remains deeply connected to fans through voice work, public appearances, and enduring goodwill, balancing immortal hero status with wit, warmth, and the rare gift of never outgrowing cultural affection. Peter Fonda became unforgettable through Easy Rider, where quiet, cool, counterculture defiance and weathered magnetism made him one of American cinema's most distinctive rebels. In later years, he stayed creatively engaged through acting, writing, and outspoken conviction before his death in 2019, leaving behind a legacy of freedom, defiance, and offbeat authenticity that still feels deeply woven into the American screen myth. Kevin Kline became a sophisticated leading man through A Fish Called Wanda and Sophie's Choice, where refined features, dry wit, and elegant intelligence gave him a uniquely polished screen appeal. Now 78, he continues to represent privacy, craft, and steadiness more than spectacle, balancing his cultivated romantic image with family life, selective work, and a dignity that seems to deepen with time. Don Johnson became the face of cool through Miami Vice and Nash Bridges, where sun-kissed looks, relaxed swagger, and easy confidence turned him into one of television's defining heartthrobs. Now 76, he continues acting with seasoned ease, balancing his pastel-suited legend with mature character work, hard-earned perspective, and the confidence of a survivor who knows exactly who he is. Robert Redford became unforgettable through Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in The Way We Were, where golden looks, blue-eyed elegance, and quiet confidence made him one of cinema's lasting romantic icons. In later years, he devoted more energy to producing, environmental causes, and safeguarding Sundance before his death in 2025, leaving behind beauty, conscience, and artistic independence in equal measure. Lee Majors became an action icon through The $6 Million Man and The Fall Guy, where rugged features, cool authority, and all-American toughness made him a defining television hero. Now 87, he lives in the affectionate glow of legacy, balancing his bionic-era fame with nostalgia, occasional appearances, and the charm of a man still built from television myth. Rob Lowe, became a teen idol through The Outsiders and St. Elmo's Fire, where perfect bone structure, glossy hair, and easy charm made him one of the most recognizable faces of the 1980s. Now 62, he has transformed youthful beauty into polished durability, balancing acting, hosting, sobriety, and family life with humor, discipline, and the confidence of someone who learned endurance. Tony Curtis became unforgettable through Some Like It Hot and Spartacus, where dazzling looks, playful energy, and movie star polish made him one of classic Hollywood's most beloved heartthrobs. In later years, he turned more toward painting and writing before his death in 2010, leaving behind a legacy of charm, survival, versatility, and old-school glamour that never slipped entirely from view. Hugh Grant became irresistible through 4 Weddings and a Funeral in Notting Hill, where floppy hair, romantic awkwardness, and mischievous wit made him the face of an entire era. Now 65, he has embraced a brilliant second act in darker, sharper roles, balancing his charming leading man past with self-awareness, versatility, and the pleasure of watching elegance turn unexpectedly dangerous. Lorenzo Lamas became a television favorite through Falcon Crest and Renegade, where thick dark hair, chiseled features, and smoldering confidence made him a recognizable heartthrob of the 1980s and 1990s. Now 68, he has redefined his tough guy image through real-world reinvention, balancing old screen swagger with aviation, practical skill, and the restless adaptability of a man still drawn to movement. Bill Murray became unforgettable through Ghostbusters and a string of defining comedy roles, where sleepy eyes, a crooked grin, and offbeat cool made him one of the most distinctive stars of his generation. Now 76, he remains active in film and public life, balancing elusive comic legend with baseball, reflection, and the eccentric durability of a screen persona nobody could imitate. Terrence Hill became unforgettable through They Call Me Trinity and his long partnership with Bud Spencer, where blue eyes, playful ease, and comic western cool made him one of Europe's most beloved heartthrobs. Now 87, he remains linked to Italian television and screen memory, balancing spaghetti western magnetism with spiritual calm, fan devotion, and the gentle afterglow of a remarkably enduring career. Michael Douglas became a true leading man legend through Romancing the Stone, Fatal Attraction, and Wall Street, where sharp features, sleek authority, and urbane confidence made him the image of screen power. Now 81, he has stepped back from constant work and speaks openly about health and family, balancing decades of ambition with reflection, privacy, and a later chapter shaped by wisdom. Benedict became a television favorite through Battlestar Galactica and The A-Team, where rugged looks, cocky charm, and rebellious swagger made him a cult-era favorite. Now 81, he remains closely tied to fandom, memoir, and convention life, balancing his rogue screen appeal with the affectionate endurance of cult television memory and the loyal audiences who never stopped enjoying his mischief. Jeff Bridges became unforgettable through The Last Picture Show, Starman, and The Big Lebowski, where soulful eyes, laid-back cool, and lived in warmth made him one of Hollywood's most appealing stars. Now 76, he continues acting while embracing music, photography, and gratitude, balancing his relaxed screen legend with resilience, creativity, and the mellow wisdom of a life tested yet still open-hearted. Richard Dean Anderson became a television icon through MacGyver and Stargate SG-1, where relaxed charm, clever eyes, and understated masculinity made him a favorite across generations. Now 76, he lives mostly outside the spotlight, balancing ingenious hero status with privacy, peace, and the affectionate loyalty of fans who still treasure the calm competence that once made him feel quietly invincible. Jon Voight became unforgettable through Midnight Cowboy and Coming Home, where rugged features, emotional force, and restless masculinity made him one of his era's most commanding actors. Now 87, he still appears on screen while remaining outspoken in public life, balancing classic acting prestige with ideology, faith, and the fierce visibility of a man who has never retreated into silence. C. Thomas Howell became unforgettable through The Outsiders and Red Dawn, where soft features, youthful intensity, and vulnerable sincerity made him stand out among 1980s stars. Now 59, he continues acting while also pursuing music and a more grounded rural life, balancing his Ponyboy-era sensitivity with a second act shaped by authenticity, work, and a quieter form of creative freedom. Warren Beatty became unforgettable through Bonnie and Clyde and Shampoo, where striking looks, sly intelligence, and debonair magnetism made him one of Hollywood's ultimate leading men. Now 89, he lives more privately and centers family far more than spectacle, balancing old studio glamour with fatherhood, long marriage, and the quiet dignity of a legend who no longer needs to perform myth. David Hasselhoff became a global television sensation through Knight Rider and Baywatch, where thick hair, glossy confidence, and larger-than-life charisma turned him into pure pop culture spectacle. Now 73, he remains visible through nostalgia, music, and public appearances, while carrying the weight of personal loss, balancing the Hoff legend with resilience, grief, and the strange endurance of permanent fame. James Brolin became a familiar leading man through Marcus Welby MD and Hotel, where rugged looks, a steady voice, and polished authority gave him lasting television appeal. Now 85, he represents a calmer version of old Hollywood durability, balancing selective work with marriage, family, and the steady confidence of a man whose career aged into something more gracious than flashy. Tom Selleck became unforgettable through Magnum P.I. and Blue Bloods, where a mustached grin, easy authority, and outdoorsman masculinity made him one of television's most enduring leading men. Now 81, he has leaned into memoir, ranch life, and reflection, balancing his rugged screen legacy with domestic routine, privacy, and the grounded pleasure of slowing down without surrendering dignity. Alain Delon became unforgettable through Purple Noon and Le Samouraï, where icy beauty, sculpted features, and cool stillness made him one of European cinema's ultimate male icons. In later years, illness gradually pulled him from public life before his death in 2024, leaving behind a legend defined by elegance, mystery, and the untouchable glamour of classic French stardom at its coldest. Jean-Paul Belmondo became unforgettable through Breathless and That Man from Rio, where a crooked smile, athletic ease, and rebellious warmth made him the living spirit of French cinematic cool. After a stroke, his later years grew quieter before his death in 2021, leaving behind a legacy of swagger, vitality, and fearless screen energy that kept European charisma from ever feeling too polished. Robert Wagner became a television heartthrob through It Takes a Thief and Heart to Heart, where polished charm, elegant features, and old-school sophistication made him a fixture of glamorous television. Now 96, he lives as a bridge to another Hollywood age, balancing debonair screen memory with interviews, recollection, and the rare authority of someone who still remembers the old magic firsthand. Eric Roberts became unforgettable through Runaway Train and Star 80, where sharp cheekbones, an intense gaze, and volatile charisma gave him the aura of a dangerous screen rebel. Now 69, he continues working at a pace few actors could sustain, transforming old instability into sheer artistic survival and balancing hard-lived edge with the momentum of a man who never stopped moving. Mark Harmon became a television favorite through St. Elsewhere and NCIS, where a square jaw, calm authority, and grounded masculinity made him one of television's most dependable leading men. Now 74, he has stepped back from full-time acting while remaining tied to the franchise behind the scenes, balancing Gibbs-era authority with stewardship, restraint, and the quieter confidence of legacy. Giancarlo Giannini became unforgettable through Swept Away and Seven Beauties, where dark eyes, sensual intelligence, and volatile elegance made him one of Italy's most fascinating screen icons. Now 83, he carries not only acting prestige, but a second legacy through dubbing and voice work, balancing on-screen allure with the richer, quieter immortality of a voice audiences have absorbed for decades. Marcello Mastroianni became unforgettable through La Dolce Vita in 8½, where wistful charm, elegant features, and melancholy glamour made him the image of European screen seduction. He kept working through declining health before his death in 1996, leaving behind timeless Italian style, emotional subtlety, and a romantic mystique that still feels suspended in beautiful, fading light. John Travolta became unforgettable through Saturday Night Fever in Greece, where dancing grace, glossy good looks, and easy swagger made him one of the defining heartthrobs of the 1970s. Now 72, he remains devoted to flying, family, and selective public life, balancing disco-era magnetism with fatherhood, discipline, and the grounded satisfaction of passions that exist far beyond applause. Paul Newman became unforgettable through Cool Hand Luke and The Sting, where blue eyes, an easy grin, and rebellious elegance made him one of Hollywood's most beloved leading men. In later years, philanthropy became central to his public identity before his death in 2008, leaving behind a legacy shaped not only by beauty and talent, but by generosity, conscience, and emotional warmth. Burt Reynolds became unforgettable through Smokey and the Bandit and Boogie Nights, where mustache swagger, a mischievous grin, and relaxed masculinity made him one of America's most magnetic stars. In later years, he lived more reflectively and remained tied to his legend through interviews and tribute, leaving behind humor, bravado, vulnerability, and a distinctly American kind of screen charm. Daniel Day-Lewis became unforgettable through There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread, where piercing intensity, aristocratic poise, and total emotional commitment made him one of cinema's most mesmerizing leading men. Now 68, he has stepped back into acting after years of silence, balancing privacy and selectivity with renewed artistic purpose, and proving that absence can make a comeback feel even more powerful. Marlon Brando became unforgettable through A Streetcar Named Desire and The Godfather, where brooding beauty, raw power, and dangerous sensuality changed screen acting forever. In his final years, poor health and seclusion replaced the wild magnetism of his prime, before his death in 2004, leaving behind the ultimate symbol of masculine screen myth, artistic genius, and untamed emotional force. Time may soften faces and slow the pace, but true presence does not vanish. These men lived through glory, change, loss, and reinvention, yet the spark still lingers. Which story stayed with you most? Share your thoughts and join us again for more journeys through unforgettable screen legends.